everybody. Welcome back to our podcast. I'm your host, Laura Moreno Lucas, and this is Hablamos VC. In today's episode, we have Latitude Ventures co-founder and partner, Gary Acosta. He is also the co-founder and CEO of NAHREP. We will explore how the real estate industry is being transformed by technology advancements, venture capital, and their impact on the landscape. We are delighted to have Gary with us today. He is an incredible asset in the real estate market, a key leader in advancing Latino communities, and an inspiration to many. We are truly honored to have him here and to be able to benefit from his knowledge and expertise. Thank you for taking the time to join us, Gary.
Thanks, Laura. And I didn't write that intro, that you wrote it, right?
That's right. We truly believe
it's pretty flattering. That's why. Thank you.
So Gary, could you take a little bit of time and just tell us about your work at NAHREP, the creation of Latitude and also Latitude Ventures? Would love to hear more about that.
So I started off as a mortgage banker early on in my career. I started working at a community bank. I learned the business that way. I ended up owning my own real estate or mortgage brokerage. And I used to do a lot of business with Hispanic home buyers. I'm Latino myself, of course, so that's not a big surprise. But I crossed paths with a gentleman by the name of Ernie Reyes very early in my career, who became kind of a mentor to me. And he was a real estate broker, but also very politically involved. Actually was chief of staff for Leon Panetta when Panetta was a congressman way back when. And he and I would mastermind a lot and talk about the marketplace and the Hispanic market in particular. And one thing led to another. And for whatever reason, at some point we said, if not us, then who? And we started the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, really in the beginning, just to create a network of real estate professionals like ourselves, who would share best practices with each other, maybe, support each other, form partnerships, have access to other people in the industry. It really wasn't thought out tremendously in the beginning, but it definitely was something that was needed in the marketplace. And today, NAHREP is probably the largest Latino business organization in the country. So one of the things we got really good at was conferences. For whatever reason, people used to talk about our conferences just being the most fun and the coolest and, the most, engaging in terms of business opportunity and networking and so forth. And somebody took me or invited me to go see South by Southwest. I started to think from that experience that we should have something like that. Latinos should have our own South by Southwest that showcase the best and the brightest that we had, in various sectors of the economy, in business, in media, in entertainment, and in technology, and in politics. And then I met Sol Trujillo, and things kind of took off from there. He and I spent a year really kind of planning it and launched Latitude in 2018. And we hit the ground running. And then Latitude Ventures was spawned by what Latitude was creating. We wanted to bring, some of the best entrepreneurs together, recognizing that access to capital was one of the biggest issues that we wanted to address. And Sol Trujillo, being a very impatient guy, said, rather than waiting for the venture capital community to figure out what to do, we should do it ourselves and at least start to show people the opportunity that's out there and how to do it right. And it's just amazing the way all of these things have come together. And I'm really excited to be where I am today and to be working with you, Laura.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. No, I enjoy working with you very much. And I think it's incredible to see how this idea that just started so early on and now where it's developed into an incredible platform and how that's changed really resources and access and many things for our community. So thank you. Thanks for bringing those ideas together and then continuing on this journey and bringing so many key leaders into the fold that has changed the dynamics for us. So with that, what impact has the tech industry had on the real estate industry, and how has that changed the way we buy and sell and manage real estate? Kind of going back to, hey, how do we think about real estate and really where it started and where it is today, since so much has changed with technology and the advancements of it towards real estate?
Well, I mean, a lot has changed. It may not seem like that from somebody from the outside looking in, but if you go back 20 years ago when we started NAHREP, real estate agents were primarily gatekeepers to information. You had to go to a realtor to find out what homes were for sale in the community, what a reasonable price is to pay, just information about the process and the home buying process itself, which is very inefficient, very fragmented, and very intimidating for a lot of borrowers. The realtor would be sort of the navigator through that process. That's changed quite a bit in the coming years. The realtor still plays an extremely important role in the process, and really is still at the center of the process. But access to information is not really the value that they bring to the transaction, because of the internet, you can get information about real estate and a particular home. You can know what homes are for sale in your community just by going online.
Yeah, no, thank you. And you touched on, obviously some of the changes. So how do you think about the future of the real estate industry and where it's headed?
So I do think there's a lot of different converging issues in the real estate market. And we're talking primarily about residential real estate because that's really my space. Commercial is kind of a different animal, but residential real estate, affordability is a big issue right now. Prices have gone up quite a bit. There's less inventory in the marketplace that I think most people think would be appropriate given the demand that's out there. I think moving forward, the real estate transaction is going to become more of a two-step process. There's a lot of different products out there, rent to own, different products where people can access and create a path for themselves for home ownership that's going to be a little bit different than what was, historically the case. Also, I think people are becoming a little bit more mobile. I think COVID had kind of accelerated that process a little bit. So you don't need to necessarily live next to where your job is, and you aren't necessarily locked into staying there because of your job. You can move where affordable housing exists. You can move to where you're most comfortable, and you can still work, not in all cases, but in many cases, without having to be in close proximity to where that job may occur, right? So those things are all having very significant impact on the residential real estate market, developers, and the way developers look at the marketplace. And I think it actually creates an enhanced role for real estate professionals who can help people navigate through the process. So I do think it's a good thing, because I think all of the I think we were seeing a much more concentrated housing dynamic occur as people were moving towards big cities and moving away from suburbs and less dense populated areas. I think we're going to that pendulum is going to swing back the other way a little bit, which I think it provides a lot of possibilities that are positive.
Yeah, that's great. Now shifting more to the entrepreneurship side of things, what do you recommend for entrepreneurs who are trying to build solutions for the real estate industry?
I mean, I think that the process of purchasing a home is still much more complicated than it needs to be, and probably too expensive than what it should be necessarily. So it's a fragmented industry. It's a bunch of local economies. So there's not really a national real estate market per se. So I think that any entrepreneur that is looking to improve the process of acquiring and closing a real estate transaction, making that process more efficient, more transparent, and less expensive, is going to be very appealing to consumers. Even though the professional community has a lot of power in the marketplace, consumers have the ultimate power. So anything that makes their experience, again, more transparent, more cost effective, and smoother, is going to be, I think, well received by consumers.
Yeah, really advancing that customer journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so what advice would you give to first-time investors in the Latino community on how to approach the real estate investing in a clever way and an informed way?
Well, so I think real estate investing is one of the things that is more natural to Hispanic investors than maybe some of the other investment opportunities that are out there, because it's something that's tangible and it has utility. So we understand what a piece of real estate does and what it's good for, and it's something that we can touch. So that is, I think, one of the reasons why it's an appealing investment category for Latinos overall. A lot of Latinos enter the marketplace for the first time by purchasing a 2-unit property or a 4-unit property, living in one of those properties, and then leasing the other units in that property to help pay for the mortgage and maybe even create a profitable scenario for them. That is one of the safest and best ways to start to invest in real estate, because it gives you a very hands-on experience through that process, and you become a more savvy investor by virtue of that process overall. You want to invest in real estate that obviously is going to debt service itself. So if you don't have a lot of capital to invest in the first time, and there's all sorts of different, I don't want to say scams out there, but there's all these different schemes out there that tell you can invest in real estate with no money, and you don't have to put a lot down and whatnot. And it's true, you can purchase real estate creatively, but when you over leverage yourself, you do put yourself in a very vulnerable situation. Whereas if you lose a tenant for a couple months, or there's some unexpected maintenance that needs to be done, it can knock you out of that process very quickly. So I think that investing in real estate has a lot of upside, but you have to understand basically all the potential pitfalls in making that investment before you jump in. And I think that Latinos, because we like to be hands-on, because we like to, we're very resourceful in terms of, the way we can, fix our properties and take care of the maintenance and so forth. It's a natural thing for us. So it's definitely, I don't want to discourage anybody from it, because I think there's a tremendous upside. It's one of the best ways to generate wealth, but there are good ways to do it and there are risky ways to do it.
Yeah, just know what you're getting into. Do your research, definitely.
Absolutely.
And then now moving on to my favorite topic, Latitude Ventures. So how can Latitude Ventures help Latino-led real estate startups maximize their potential?
Well, I mean, as you know, right, capital is something that I don't want to say all companies do, but it's a very important tool to help companies scale. One of the things that drove us in this direction to create Latitude Ventures is just the knowledge that Latinos are prolific entrepreneurs, but most Latino-owned businesses are small and tend to stay small. So scaling those businesses is something that we want to see happen more frequently. And capital is certainly a way to do that. I think Latitude Ventures, and what really separates us from maybe some of the other players in this space, is the expertise that we have, the doors that we can open, the mentorship that we can provide. All of those things are very difficult to acquire elsewhere. And with Sol Trujillo and Oscar Munoz, and your experience, Laura, as an entrepreneur and as a startup founder yourself, there's a tremendous amount of intellectual capital that's available through Latitude Ventures that we have within our group, but we're also trying to enhance by the ecosystem that we're building at Matchup, which is our annual event that we host every year at Latitude. And just giving people, just addressing those barriers and providing solutions for access to information. I mean, that is the one thing that people should not have trouble accessing. Capital is one thing, and capital is right for some companies, not necessarily right for all companies, as you know. But access to information, those barriers need to be addressed. And I think Latitude Ventures is doing that. by latitude, by matchup, and by, I think, the team that we're building at Latitude Ventures itself.
Yeah, I think you're so right about that. I mean, typically in the past, venture capital has been a very closed door community and made that information accessible to only certain people. And so now that we have this platform to share that information with not only the Latino community, but with everybody, as you mentioned, access to capital, access to information and capital are both very important. Well,
Very
thank
much so.
you.
And you're right. You know, it has been, I don't want to use an overused term, but it's been a boys' club for too long. And we need to break that mold. And it's got to be something that is accessible to more people, especially people, from our community.
Yes, absolutely agree. Well, thank you, Gary, for being here today and sharing all your wonderful knowledge and tips. I hope that we can have you back soon, obviously, here in this year. Well, adios, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for teaching people to think big and letting them know what opportunities are out there for them.
Thank you.